Honorable Discord, Penn State, criminal minded. Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new. I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop episodes daily at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Even when it doesn't appear as though I'm going to drop an episode, I'm going to drop an episode, God willing. I hold myself accountable to that schedule that I created. Before I even get into this episode, great verses between Joe and Donald Jones. It was a gentleman's versus. There was really no feuding going on between the two. They just got straight to it, played their music. I want to say midway towards the end, Joe started to feel himself. He brought out 50 Cent with Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda. And so there was a little bit of Joe having a bit of a bravado about himself, as he should. His catalog is incredible. And so is Donald Jones' catalog. But overall, it was a great versus. I was going to do an episode on that, but I felt like, there's no real reason to do a recap on that. Not to say that it wasn't good or worthy of a recap, but I figured I'd just cover it now. With that being said, salute to all of you for hitting the subscribe button. I appreciate it immensely, dearly. I can't say that enough. For each and every one of you that actually hit the subscribe button, thank you, thank you, thank you. It means a lot. It just means a lot because it just shows that, I'm doing this and there's people out there that care for the content. But let me just say this also. I love what I do. I know, in this world of ours, everything is about numbers. But numbers are great, but I actually do love doing this. I really do love doing this because if it was just about numbers, then that wouldn't be enough reason for me to lock in and do it daily. I might be doing it more. I would be doing it less if it was solely about numbers. I genuinely enjoy doing this along with the reels. I hope you're enjoying the reels because I'm locked in on that more than I've ever been. Also, if you haven't noticed, I've been locking in on the reels. I've been shooting videos as the backdrop for the reels, selecting music, and just a little backstory because, for those of you that care, each reel that I do, I generally go through about at least 20 to 30 songs before selecting the song that I want to actually use for the reel. Unless I actually had a song in mind and I just apply it. There's some thought. There's thought being put into making those reels because I need the song to connect with what I'm showing visually for the most part. So I'm locked in on those. Those are dropping daily also for the foreseeable future. I'll continue to drop those daily as well, where I wasn't doing that before. So for those of you that pay attention to this channel, you'll notice like, man, it seems like he's dropping a reel every day. I am dropping reels every day along with these episodes. But let's get into this Penn State criminal minded. This is the news report courtesy of CBS News about what's going on in Penn State. And then I have reactions to what's going on in Penn State. And of course, throughout, I'm going to share my thoughts on it. So let's get into it.
Leader of that frat house cocaine operation at Penn State University is in police custody tonight, described by a local newspaper as a former accounting student, 24 years old, and according to witnesses to the grand jury, the largest cocaine dealer at one of the largest universities in America, making considerable amounts of money. Our Meg Oliver has the update from Central Pennsylvania.
Tony, 24-year-old Agostino Abatiello turned himself in this morning and is behind bars here at the Center County Correctional Facility. Abatiello, a former Penn State student, was arraigned on numerous felonies, including multiple counts of possession with intent to deliver cocaine. On Monday, 13 current and former Penn State students were charged, along with a parent of prominent Pittsburgh attorney Paul Robinson, who allegedly tried to conceal evidence. Prosecutors say two off-campus fraternities, Sigma Chi and Delta Upsilon, appeared to be hubs for the operation and allegedly used pledges to package the drugs. According to grand jury testimony, Abatiello was purchasing around 100 grams of cocaine from his source in New York every 3 to 6 weeks. In a statement, Penn State said in part, criminal activity such as this has no place at our institution. Penn State says Sigma Chi has no formal relationship to the university, and they have suspended Delta Upsilon pending an investigation. Tony?
Meg, thank you very much. The alleged ring.
Wow. So one thing I want to say about this is, am I surprised by it? No. And I'm not surprised by it as a grown man. Maybe as a younger adult, when I was much younger, I might have been surprised by this. But I've said this before on a previous episode. Not so previous, but listen. Human beings are flawed. Human beings are imperfect. This whole notion that this whole good versus bad, who are bad, who's not bad. We live in a world where everyone points the finger at certain individuals and their actions as though there's somebody out there that's pure. There's no pure person out there. And if they are, they would be part of a 1%. And I wouldn't know how true that is, that they are pure, because there's no telling what people do behind closed doors. So for face value, you would assume someone who, like this gentleman who's in my thumbnail, shirt and tie, they said he had a background in accounting. You would not think he would be associated with selling drugs for profit. All right, your ideal or your thoughts when it comes to someone who sells drugs, and this has been curated by the media and different outlets. Your idea of someone who sells drugs would be someone who is maybe of my shade or darker, someone who wears urban clothes, listens to rap music, who, depending on where you are, if you're in California, they're in a lowrider with a bandana on, or if you're on the East Coast, maybe they're in a foreign car, preferably a BMW 5 Series or better, or Mercedes AMG. That would be who you would think would be selling the drugs. Then it doesn't help that we watch shows, where we have ourselves depicted as drug dealers, and I partake in watching some of those shows. So I'm not here to judge. This is not me judging those shows. What I'm saying all of this to say, there is no perfect being under the sun, and this notion that people are perfect and there's the bad guy, like Scarface said in the movie in the restaurant. We need a bad guy so we can say, there goes the bad guy, to take the mirror off of ourselves and the flaws that we have individually. I have flaws. Those of you watching this episode have flaws, but for some reason, and not even for some reason, strategically, in some parts of the world, they have made the bad guy the black man, or black people, brown people, black and brown people. We're the bad guys. And here you go. Here you go, gentlemen. Ladies, if you're watching also. So ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman right here behind me, or I should say beside me on the thumbnail, he is responsible for leading a drug ring on a college campus. You can't make this stuff up. And I'm not here to say, I'm not here to pull out statistics and say, oh, well, who commits the most crimes here in this country? That doesn't matter. The point is that there's no perfect individual out there. The whole facade of, because somebody walks around clean shaven with a shirt and tie, they are more pure than the person who's wearing baggy jeans and Jordans. It's crazy. It's just that what's put out there is that the ones wearing the baggy jeans and Jordans are they're the true villain of the world. The true villains of this world. But that's not the case. And as far as this country is concerned, I'll say it over and over again. Corruption and scandal is the fabric of America. Corruption and scandal is the fabric of America. And I say that as a proud American. I'm proud to be an American. I'm blessed to be in this country. So don't ever take my words and misuse it. I know I'm lucky to be in this country. I've traveled to other places, like I've said also in previous episodes. I've traveled to other places and I see the poverty and I see how some people are living. And it just reminds me how blessed I am to be here. But with that being said, however, I do know that in this country, corruption is a big thing. And it's the whole cops and robbers game of again, like the Scarface movie when he's at the dinner table and he's saying you need a bad guy, you need someone to point. I'm paraphrasing. He's saying you need someone to point the finger at. This world seems to point the finger at the black and brown community, where here you go on a college campus, 14 guys, and I'm pretty sure it goes deeper than that because who's the supplier and so on and so forth. But for now, we're gonna just concentrate on these 14 guys, which again, I'm sure there's more, but there was I think maybe one or two that were black and brown, and corruption and scandal has no racial connection. All right, corruption and scandal is exactly what it's said to be. It's corruption and scandal, and no matter how you look, how clean shaven you may be, no matter if you live in the suburbs or you live in the ghetto, you're capable of taking part in carrying out corruption and scandal. That's the point of this episode, to be honest with you. That's the real point of this episode. I'm not even here to gloat or celebrate the fact that it's predominantly white males that were caught for this act. That's not what this is about. The takeaway from this episode would just to be that, listen, stop judging people. We're all capable of corruption and scandal and making poor decisions and anything you could think of. Egregious acts. We're all capable, no matter what shade your skin is, no matter what community you come from. You're capable of doing things that are unfavorable or unjust, against the law, however you want to word it. We're all capable of it. And the United States of America, to be more specific, reeks of this stuff. All right, from politicians to law enforcement. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but law enforcement has been getting caught ever so often for all types of stuff. I've seen reports of a police officer who also, female police officer at one point in time, a few months ago, if not a few years ago, who was, she was selling drugs. Then we have high-ranking officers, including the judge recently, a high-ranking officer and a judge, I think, was having SEX in the judge's chamber. All types of corruptions with upper-ranking police officers. And this is not me pointing the finger like Scarface said. I'm highlighting, let me say that. I'm highlighting these things to say that we live in an imperfect world because we are imperfect people. And until we get to a point in time, which I don't know if that will ever happen in my lifetime, until we get into a point in time where we all recognize that we are all flawed as human beings, and we stop pointing the finger at other races like, oh, they're the bad ones, we're the good ones. Because I don't see a lot of accountability when the tables are turned and we start finding out things about other nationalities. And yes, I am alluding to Austin Metcalf and his track record and what we're learning about that, his past. You know, he wasn't squeaky clean. Now, am I saying that he deserved to be unalive? No, that's not what I'm here to talk about. But the point is that what a coincidence, right? The father jumped on the news. He was wearing Christian T-shirts, and they made it out. The father, along with the news, you would have thought that the twins were model teenagers, student athletes. I mean, they had great grades, but so did Carmelo. And Carmelo's flawed also. I mean, we saw the text message. Regardless of when the text message came out, if it was the day of the track meet or if the text message was from years prior, I mean, he has some things he needs to work on himself based on him actually texting something like that, allegedly. But they said it was from his phone, so I don't know if it was alleged or if it was in fact his text message. The point is we have questionable things on both sides of that particular situation out there in Texas between the Metcalf twins and Carmelo Anthony. But here, Penn State, here you go. Let me get into these reactions and I'll talk about it further.
Let me get this right. That gang of thugs out there at Penn State that were dealing on campus, okay, transporting large quantities of illegal substances across state lines, bringing them back, recruiting other gang members to be involved in a conspiracy of packaging and selling They ain't being charged with RICO. They're not getting no RICO charge. So their charges are corruption, organizations, racketeering, criminal conspiracy, possession with intent to deliver, dealing in proceeds of unlawful activity, criminal use of a communication facility. But ain't no RICO charge. See, this shows you right there that there are two different justice systems in this country, as we've always said. Because there is no way that you have a gang of felons, of thugs together, selling, distributing, packaging, and transporting, and ain't no RICO charge. Where they do that at? I guess at Penn State. So let me get this right.
Well, I'd like to believe we all knew there was two different justice systems, right? Right, gentlemen? We know that there's two different justice systems. We know that when it comes to the courts and black and brown people, you don't get charged the same as another race. We do know that, right? If we don't know that, let's please pay attention to the news. I'd like you gentlemen to please pay attention to the news. It doesn't work in our favor, depending on the circumstance, all right? It's never the same. We don't get the same representation. We don't get the same media coverage. We don't get the same media coverage. The wording when covered by the news is different also. The wording. Pay attention to the way they describe, not victims, but they describe, well, not the victims, but pay attention to the way they describe the assailants based on race in the news. Pay attention to that. Completely different. When it shouldn't be. It should be the same across the board.
Sweep under the rug over a dozen students at Penn State being arrested for trafficking cocaine. For a dozen students with the two fraternities literally have a whole cocaine empire at the university. Nobody's talking about it. That shit is crazy. I saw all the pictures of everybody being arrested, and that shit is crazy. It was like the real power. It was like really Tariq Power with braided up there, except it was just really all braids. All right, if that didn't make any sense to y'all, bro. They up there going crazy, and shit like that gets swept under the rug. A major university like Penn State. That's wow. That's again, man, that should be, to me, some shit like that. That's national news. That is national coverage. Nobody is saying shit about that. They be having us so distracted, bro. We're talking about a lot of BS, bro, as far as certain things that's really not that important. They'll give us the BS as far as just like dramas with entertainers or whatever the case may be. But dog, you got over a dozen students at a university trafficking cocaine, bro. That is big, bro. Look that shit up, man. I want to see what y'all thoughts are about that, bro. Like, what do y'all feel the punishments will be? What do y'all feel like? Is it getting swept under the rug because it's a major university? They don't want the university to look bad, or is it getting swept under the rug because, like I said, a lot of them look like Brady? Like, I'm really just curious to hear everybody's thoughts about that, man. That shit crazy. Anybody else? Like I say, that shit will be national news, especially if they look like us. They'd be like, oh, they up here at the university going crazy. They supposed to be getting an education. Meanwhile, everybody on the... Think about this, though. If they doing it on the campus, you know that means people at the campus is doing this shit. All y'all students, y'all supposed to be in class, folks. Everybody up there. Let me know what y'all think. So we just gonna sweep under the rug.
Listen, faculty members. You think the faculty didn't know? There were certain faculty members that were privy to knowing that this was happening on the campus. I think this thing runs deeper than we can even imagine. Because once you indulge in something that makes that kind of money, and they haven't even discussed, at least at the time of this recording, I didn't hear anything mentioned about the actual money that was being made, the amount of money. But you think faculty didn't know about it? Possibly they didn't know about it, but there's also a possibility that they did know about it. And they were probably receiving some money from the students to just carry on as business as usual. Someone in the above me put, bruh, weren't they in the news years ago for a child abuse scandal? They say Penn State stay catching strays. Were they? I don't know. Were they? I'd like somebody in jump in the comment section. Let me know. Was Penn State in the news previous to this for like this person mentioned?
14 of the Penn State cocaine ring traffickers. The little black guy, they're gonna fry you, bud. Here are all 14 of the Penn State cocaine ring traffickers. The little black guy, they're gonna fry you, bud. Here are all 14.
Cocaine only looks like a drug problem when the drug dealers look a certain way. 14 people have already been arrested in connection with a cocaine ring connected to Penn State fraternities. And the only thing I want to know is, where's the media package? You know the one with the scary pictures, the reckless social media posts, the deep dive into everybody's childhood. Where's the reporter standing outside of Penn State asking what's wrong with that school? Because allegedly, they were moving more than folding tables and red Solo cups. I just don't understand how Penn State hasn't been labeled a ghetto drug-infested college. Interesting. Because if it was an HBCU, baby, CNN would have a documentary by Thursday. And this is what I mean when I say stereotypes are really useful. They keep everybody staring at one neighborhood while somebody's running a whole pharmacy out of a frat house in another one. See, when society starts deciding what a drug dealer should look like, everybody who doesn't fit the costume gets to walk through the security checkpoint with a camouflage of privilege. So I'm watching how the story gets covered. Because I want to know, where are the pictures? Where are the concerned parents? Where's the national conversation about campus culture? Or do we only diagnose an entire community when the people are black? Because if 14 black students got arrested at an HBCU for pushing cocaine, how do you think the story would be told? Let's talk about it.
Well said. Bravo. That's MIJOBU for life. Salute to this woman. Salute to her take. Wow. Well said. The way she broke it down is the level in which I can only hope to achieve at some point in time on this channel. I say that humbly because well said. And this is what I'm talking about. And I'm not even highlighting the fact that they're white. I could care less about that. What I want to highlight and what I want you all to pay attention to is the fact that the game is rigged. When we think about crime, when we think about breaking the law, which is crime, anything divisive, anything destructive, anything that is not good, the media just dives in to black and brown people. They just highlight black and brown people. We are such a nuisance to be around. They don't want us in their communities. You know, and don't get me wrong, we have to take accountability. There are some of us that are a terror to our communities and a terror to other communities, but we're not the only one. There's all types of people that commit crimes and are terrors to their community. Where is the media coverage, the excessive media coverage on this? This is 14 young men. Well, 14 men. Let me not say young men, college students. 14 men doing this on a college campus. And they're careful with the wording. They don't bring them down. They don't necessarily target Penn State. They just nicely cover it on the news. It's nicely covered with decency. But as she mentioned, if this was at HSBCU, if I said that right, if this was a black college, a historical black college, and 14 black males, they would have fried black colleges. They would have made it as though all black colleges need to be investigated. Front page on all the papers for those 14 black men, excuse me. If this wasn't reversed, like as she mentioned. When scandal and crime and all of those things are not bound by race, especially under this United States government, especially in this country. Scandal, it's the fabric of this country. Ever so often, there's people that come out there and they act as though they're squeaky clean. No one is squeaky clean. No one is squeaky clean. No one is squeaky clean until we could all get on camera and say no one, and that goes for women also. No one is squeaky clean. It just comes down to whether or not we found out about you yet. And then when we find out about you, depending on the money that you have, we never find out about you. You stay below the radar. Epstein files. Miss me with pointing the fingers. When you finish with this episode, that's the takeaway. Everyone watching this episode needs to humble themselves. I mean, granted, I discuss different topics on this channel, and it may come across as I'm judging. I just like to look at it as I just share my thoughts on a given subject, but by no means do I ever claim to be perfect. So don't let that be the takeaway. I am not judge and jury. I am not God. I am not perfect. I will never be perfect. And don't ever come and take part in watching my episodes and assume that I think that I'm perfect, because I don't think I'm perfect. All right. And the reason why I'm talking about myself is because before I could continue talking about these 14 men and what they did on Penn State campus, excuse me, I'm choking up. What they did on the Penn State campus, I have to make it known and make it clear that I don't think that I'm perfect. All right. But with that being said, we need to stop this whole pointing the finger, as Scarface mentioned in the movie Scarface, at the bad guy. Because most of the time, the person pointing should be pointing that finger back at themselves.
13 Penn State frat brothers have been arrested in a C. Kane, fill it in, trafficking case where they made the new pledges cut, package, and sell crack in order to join the fraternity as a hazing ritual. You need to sit them in front of Judge Mathis. Where he at? I can see Judge Mathis.
Oh, let me just say this also. This is a perfect example of how comfortable other communities are at committing crimes. Because the little that I know about street life, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, those of you that are watching this that are in the street. I'm not here to judge you if you're in the streets. I don't applaud your work. Let me make that clear. I don't applaud your work because you are bringing down the community. But correct me if I'm wrong. You're not going to make your operation accessible to the newcomer, the person who's coming around, who's trying to be affiliated. You don't just give out that information, that privy information easily, because you in fact jeopardize your business. They could be potential undercover. You just don't know who to trust when you live in the street life. Here on the flip side, they are so comfortable in their skin, literally in their skin. They're comfortable knowing that perception is key. Clean shaven, suits and tie. They're so comfortable in knowing that they wouldn't be looked at as criminals, that they are assigning pledges to cut packages. Just think about how brazen that is.
Right now, just line them all up in front of them. So how long you doing crack? Well, Judge, we never done it. We're in trouble for telling them to package stuff. No, I know a crackhead when I see one, because you've been around it that long. You had done some of it. No, Judge, we never done it. I don't believe you. I've been doing this a long time, and I know when somebody on crack. I can see it, and you look crackish. You look crackish. But you know what, y'all? I think it's part of a bigger story, too, with some of these PWIs. People want to sit up here and act like it's all good. Yeah, they got the football team, the basketball team, the name, and all the money. But this ain't even the tip of the iceberg, some of the stuff be going on. They just got caught. You think this is the first time in human history that something like this didn't happen? At such a prominent institution like Penn State? Huh? No. No, but you know what? They ain't gonna dig no deep into it. It's too much money. Too much money in these big schools. Huh? And I couldn't imagine being stupid enough to do this. Whoever them pledges was, and they make you do some of it. Do it. Nah, man, I'm good. I just want to be a part of the frat. I guess you don't want to be a part of Penn State, huh? You don't want to be a part of Penn State? Why don't you get on out of here? Get on out of here. I don't want to do it. Consequences. Woo, never in my life.
Jalen Hinton, that was funny. I don't know if he's a comedian. I'm assuming he's a comedian. But yeah. Pledges. They weren't even afraid of being caught. Insane.
They call us the animals of the earth. They call us the drug dealers of the earth. These motherfuckers at Penn State, they had a whole trap house. They had a whole fucking trap house. They had a kingpin, all that shit. They had runners, they had baggers, they had bitches in the kitchen naked. But they call us motherfucking animals. They call black people animals. These motherfuckers had a whole watch this nigga get off too. Watch. Abilalu, out of the Custo, whatever his fucking name is. Watch this nigga get off too. He gonna get off. I'm telling you, he gonna get off. I think he posted bond already, so I don't know, man. But that shit is crazy, bro. Penn State, bro. We ain't talking about no ordinary college. We talking about like
Division I, if I'm not mistaken. Division I.
One of the top colleges, like out there, like this nigga had a whole trap house, bro.
Listen, folks, what is your thoughts on all of this? My thoughts is there's a double standard in life. If you didn't recognize it, keep paying attention to the news. Watch this episode, do your own due diligence, investigate. There's a double standard. Black and brown are not, they're not condemned. Well, let me just say, other races are not condemned the way black and brown is condemned for certain acts and certain crimes, and it's clear. The wording is different, the sentences are different, and the public perception is different. Black and brown is perceived to be the worst of the worst, the scum, the can't trust them, the I don't want them being my neighbors, the what are you doing in this neighborhood, as though every other race outside of black and brown is incapable of carrying out heinous acts, breaking the law, so on and so forth. And only thing I can say is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Believable, it's believable. But just unbelievable how it's received, how it's reported. Unbelievable. But listen, that's my thoughts on all this. What is your thoughts? What is your thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on this? I'd like to see you in the comment section. Tell me your thoughts. But I appreciate you all. Keep hitting that like button. Keep sharing the information about this channel to others. And as always, stay honorable.